Cher has been accused of hiring 4 men to kidnap her own adult son. And that story, that headline alone, it sounds crazy. The story is not as crazy.
I thought it was a little misleading.
Yeah. A little bit.
The title was a little misleading.
A little bit, because this guy, I mean, her son is in his 40s, right?
Yeah,
kind of weird that she is dating somebody 10 years younger than her own son.
Yeah, her
Cher is 77 and her boyfriend is 37.
Her future husband could be a stepdad to a guy 10 years older than her.
It's just wrong. It's weird.
It's money.
But anyway, so this was while her son was at an LA hotel with his wife, who he had been separated from for quite a while.
Yes.
And they were trying to reconcile during their wedding anniversary for 12 days. And while they were in the middle of this stay at this hotel, 4 men just broke into the room, said that they came hired by his mother and took him away.
I wonder what documentation they had that's...
They didn't have any, I assume.
Yeah.
And then his wife was just left there having no knowledge of his well-being or whereabouts, she claims. Yep. And she went to the court about this, and this is all in the now public court filings that were reported by the Daily Mail. It sounds like he had been staying at the Chateau Marmont in LA for like 6 months, just constantly strung out. He would be passed out on the sidewalk outside the hotel quite often, having the staff pick him up and carry him back in. They were constantly contacting Cher. It's weird for any adult man to be having people call his mom when he's in the middle of seemingly like a mental health crisis or medical emergency, instead of his wife, who is staying with him, right?
Yeah.
She's probably tweaking with him.
Cher seems to be an overly involved parent.
She's a helicopter mom.
A helicopter mom of sorts.
Yeah.
She never got along with her son's wife. So that's a little questionable. And she has told his wife that she needs to leave their family home where they were living together, and didn't let her take a lot of her possessions. And this is like a foreign woman from Germany, I believe, right? So she had to leave the country. And seems like Cher is just trying to take total control of her son's life.
Yeah, and for something like this, like if the idea is to get him into rehab, like parents, especially like concerned parents, and especially an overly concerned parent, will go to great lengths to try and, you know, get you out of your current situation and into a situation where they can try to get you help.
It's
the problem
odd, though, because like his upbringing sounds like the opposite. Like she was not involved at all. She sent him off to boarding school when he was 8 years old, and he claims, oh yeah, I started drugs just at about the same time we all do, 11 years old.
Oh my God.
Literally, that's what he said?
Yes. That was from an interview he did in 2014. And I'm sure he was being tongue-in-cheek when he said that.
Heroin
but that's
at the age of 11.
Crazy. I think he said he started out with weed and ecstasy and quickly escalated into other things. And he did end up becoming addicted to heroin, if he is not currently still addicted.
He also dated Bijou Phillips, who was married to Danny Masterson.
She's not good at picking them,
No.
is she?
No. Yeah, so like if you're struggling with addiction and you're having trouble escaping the situation you're in because you can't physically do it, because you're so either physically or mentally addicted to what you're doing, the parents that are the most like gung-ho about getting involved and trying to get you out of that might try something like this. They do the same thing in cults, where there's people who are hired to remove people from cults to like physically get them out of the situation, and it does amount to what is essentially a form of kidnapping.
Is that when the cult member desires to leave the cult, or is that when they
a lot of times
involuntarily
they don't want to,
held?
They don't
there?
want to leave, and the parents understand.
Well, Brett, what about their personal sovereignty?
I don't think that they should be doing that either. I think that that's the person's choice. But I'm not a parent, so I can't speak to how I would feel if I was a parent in that situation. I know that when I was at the worst points of my addiction, that it wouldn't have mattered if somebody else tried to remove me from the situation, because until you're ready to do it on your own, it's not going to do anything. You're going to still find yourself back in the same situations. There's a $20 one right there.
One from Travis. How's your hair, Ian? You beautiful man.
I like.
How is your hair?
Feels great from here. How's it look? Thanks for asking.
Yeah, a lot of times these things backfire because when you push on somebody who's not ready to get help, they're going to push back harder. It's like when you tell a kid they can't do something, they're automatically going to be like, well, now I want to do it even more. It's very, very difficult, but I understand the impulse of a parent to try and remove someone from that situation. I saw a lot of people when I was in rehab who were there involuntarily, and from what I've always been told, that the people who are there involuntarily, the success rate on that is lower because they're just not ready to get help in that situation. Now, if they're talking about somebody who's in a violent situation where they're being abused, then we're talking more about something about like what Ian was saying about calling the cops on somebody who was beating, if somebody was beating a woman and calling the cops on them.
Someone asked, is it an intervention or kidnapping legally?
I think legally it falls under kidnapping. I think anytime that you exert force to remove someone from a situation that they don't want to be in when they're an adult, it's a form of kidnapping that would be interpreted by that they would hope that the person would interpret as an intervention because they're not likely to press charges against their family for something like that. And these are all sorts of weird gray areas that it falls under.
Yeah, if those 4 dudes that Cher hired were like, come on, you're coming with us, and he's like, no. And they're like, you're coming with us. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
Then it wasn't kidnapping because he agreed to go. If he said okay, if he agreed in any way, then it would be more of an intervention.
Yeah.
In this situation, I would think.
Yeah.
Seems like he wasn't notified about it. He had no idea it was happening, and neither did his wife.
And if they informed him ahead of time, he might have left. He might have, wouldn't have opened the door for them. Something like that. It's I empathize with the parents, right, who are seeing a kid destroy themselves. If that indeed was the situation here, which is what it sounds like they're saying, if they're finding him strung out outside of this hotel and stuff like that, that is an impossible situation to be in if you love someone and you see them behaving that way.
It also seems like she's funding his and his wife's lifestyle completely.
Yeah.
So in a way, she's partially responsible for them and what they do.
Yeah. So, and there is something to be said about the headline being like, though it does fall legally, I feel like it would fall legally under the term kidnapping.
Well, if it's illegal, I haven't seen them or Cher charged with anything for it.
The court filing is saying like that they phrased it as
the wife
kidnapping.
says he's in a lockdown at a treatment facility undisclosed.
Yeah.
Has no idea.
It's unbelievably sad to see.
And this happened in September this year, not last year.
I think for celebrities too, for the people who are the children of celebrities, it's got to be. I mean, that's a pretty famous story, right? Of celebrities who have kids that struggle, with dealing with parents that have a great amount of fame, especially if your mom is somebody who wasn't around much growing up, and that's the way it was.
I thought the Howards did it really well. Bryce Howard. Ron Howard.
Yeah.
Ron's wife was like, we're not doing the Hollywood thing, man. Let's go.
We just literally watched a trailer with Bryce Howard in it too.
Yeah, she's so great and well-adjusted human.
Yeah.
And that's because I think a lot of it is Ron and his wife. I think a lot of it's attributed to his wife. I don't know her, but she was less famous, so more, and they just normalized. They lived on a farm, they lived a normal life. Yeah. And I guess Ron would just leave and go work for months at a time. I don't know what the schedule is like. That's a little weird. But he'd bring the kids along with them and stuff.
Or I mean, if you're making Hollywood movies, you can afford to fly back whenever you want.
And Ron's
right?
dad would come on set with the Andy Griffith Show when Ron was a kid.
Yeah.
And so his dad was there every day, would go on set to Andy Griffith to make sure Ron didn't get taken advantage of. He was basically a big part of Ron's life as a child actor. So that family is I think a model of how you would handle.
Crazy that's the only way you can prevent your kid who is in that industry from getting abused
every day
is by like actually being there
to
stop them.
Yeah, in the chat, Dad Bod Baboon says, rehab did nothing for me. I quit using when I decided enough was enough. The biggest move I made was getting rid of all those friends. 20 years sober now. Well, first of all, congratulations on that. And that's a big part of it, right? Like if you're, or think about that, like when you're young and your parents tell you, I don't like these people you're hanging out with. Like how many kids are like, okay, Mom, I'm not going to, or Dad, I'm not going to hang out with these people. No,
That
it's
was
not
me.
really.
I was.
You told
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like,
the kid,
okay, Mom.
He would pour gasoline on the ground in his garage and light it on fire. I told my dad, and he's a fireman, and was like, "You're never hanging out with that kid again."
Yeah.
Well,
I never like that. That never really happened. That never really happened to me. For me, like I never like all the mistakes I made, all the problems I had was never really like I had people that were involved in it, but I didn't like hang out with them. It was like if anything, drugs brought out the worst tendencies I have to be more of an isolationist. So it wasn't about hanging out with the wrong people, buying from the wrong people, I suppose. But like I wasn't going out and getting into a bunch of trouble with them. But I had friends that did. They couldn't escape that cycle because the same people would re-enter their lives. And that would happen. And I imagine for somebody like this, he's got endless amounts of people who want to make money off of him, either by selling him drugs or keeping him involved in that. And one of the things that a parent might do is, if you're exasperated and you're trying to find a way out of this, is just like get him into a rehab facility and see what we can do. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but you got to try, right? I can't say that I know how I would react in that situation because I'm not a parent, but I understand the fear and the anger for these types of situations and the need desperately to do something to help them because you love them so much. So
yeah, my parents, I didn't hit like horrible heroin rock bottom, thank God. But like they didn't like grab me and force me into a situation when I was at my low point. But they said, if you want to help yourself, we'll match what you do. If you get a job, we'll give you whatever money you make at the job, we'll give that to you. We'll buy you a car if you get a job. That
incentivizes you to do it on your own.
And I think if they had done nothing, and I'd killed myself, they would regret not trying. And I think Cher's probably going through that. Like, we gotta try. What if she doesn't try and he dies? So like.
Yeah, this is because people are they're drawing comparisons to the Britney Spears situation. I don't know if I like the idea of comparing random people on the internet's interest in a celebrity with their own parents' interest in a celebrity. I kind of reject that premise, but I get what you're saying. But it's drugs are an impossibly scary thing to have to go through on your own. It's even worse. Like I imagine it's even worse. Like what parents go through when you put all of this. Now I don't know I don't know if she was the best mom, the worst mom, I don't know, but I do know that you put all this time into raising a human being, and then to see them throw that potential away and hurt themselves has to be unbelievably painful. So because I've seen it happen to people, to friends that I care about, right? And that was a lot of it for me, is like once I got better, or once I turned my life around for the most part, I think back now and I feel bad for my dad, and I feel worse for my mom, who didn't really get to see as much of my life after I got it turned around before she passed, the start of it, but not the entirety of it, right? But I feel bad in a lot of ways. So I imagine that what the parent feels has to be worse.
Oh, just putting him through it?
Putting him through it,
yeah.
Like in a lot of ways, and seeing like, it's like, oh, we spent all this money, this time, and we put all this attention into getting you to a certain place in life, and then to see you throw it away. And I wasn't like a kid who acted out. Like that's the scary part. We're not even talking about somebody who like acted out and was like getting into criminal mischief or doing stuff like that. I was just somebody who just got hooked and then couldn't get off, right? Not even the most exciting or tragic of tales, but still unbelievably tragic for the people in that situation. So it's awful.
I used to be pretty hard on my parents and be like, you know, and then I realized at some point they're just like vulnerable humans. You gotta like go easy on those people.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Well, like there's a lot of like, it's like eventually one day you realize that your parents are winging it just as much as you. When your parents were young, they were winging it just as much as you were in life, right? Like they didn't know, and there's no guidebook, and there's no 100% safe or accurate guidebook on how to raise kids. So they kind of just got to figure it out as they go along as well. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.